Nnamdi never gave up on his dreams. He practiced football whenever he had the moment to spare. His bare feet had become tough from running on the rough ground, and his legs were strong from carrying heavy loads. "Football is a waste of time," he would shout, "do your chores." Nnamdi's days were filled with endless work and little rest. He was not allowed to go to school, and his dreams of playing football seemed to slip further away. Nnamdi lived in a small village of Umuahia. It was a quiet place with dusty roads and small houses made of mud and thatch. Nnamdi was the only child of his parents, Okeke and Ifoma. His father worked as a farmer, toiling under the hot sun every day to grow yams and cassava. His mother sold vegetables at the local market, waking up before dawn to set up her stall. Life was tough for Nnamdi's family. They struggled to make ends meet, and there was never enough money. Some days, they ate only one meal. Nnamdi wore clothes that were patched and worn, and he often went to bed hungry. But despite all this, he had one great love, which was football. Nnamdi loved football more than anything else. He would kick anything he could find, whether it was a ragged ball made from clothes or a bundle of leaves tied together. His dreams was to play for a big team someday, to hear the crowd cheer his name, but the people in his village didn't understand his passion. "Nnamdi, go and help your father on the farm," they would often shout as he practiced in the field. "Football will never put food on your table. You better go and help your parents." The other boys in the village laughed at him too. They had proper shoes and jerseys, gifts from their parents. Nnamdi played in his bare foot and torn clothes. "Look at Nnamdi playing in rags," they teased, pointing at his shabby appearance. But Nnamdi didn't listen to them. He practiced every day, both in the mornings and in the evenings after school, running barefoot on the dusty field behind his house. He dribbled around imaginary opponents, practiced his shots, and dreamed of the day he would play in a real stadium. One evening, after a very long day at school and helping his mother at the market, Nnamdi sat by the small river near his house. He watched the water flow slowly and thought about his dreams. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the village. "One day I must make it," he whispered to himself, clenching his fist with determination. He knew it would be hard because of his background, but he was ready to face any challenge to achieve his dreams. Nnamdi's family was so poor that they could hardly afford to pay for his school fees. Every time, his father Okeke and his mother Ifoma had to scrape together money to keep Nnamdi in school. Sometimes they had to borrow money from their neighbors, who were also struggling. "Nnamdi, my son, you must focus on your studies," his father always told him. "Education is the key to a better life." Nnamdi nodded, but it was hard for him to concentrate on his books. His mind was always on football. He imagined himself dribbling past the defenders and scoring goals, and hearing the crowd cheer his name. Despite his dreams, Nnamdi knew he had to help his parents. He woke up very early in the morning to fetch water from the river, carrying heavy buckets on his head. And even after school, he went to the farm with his father, helping to plant and harvest crops. On market days, he assisted his mother, carrying baskets of vegetables to her store and calling out to customers to buy their goods. Even with all these responsibilities, Nnamdi never gave up on his dreams. He practiced football whenever he had the moment to spare. His bare feet had become tough from running on the rough ground, and his legs were strong from carrying heavy loads. One day, as he was helping his mother sell vegetables in the busy market, something caught his eyes. It was a brightly colored poster on the wall of a nearby shop. Nnamdi walked over to read it. His heart leaped with excitement when he saw what it was. "Mama, look," he said, running back to his mother. "There is a football competition in the village square next month." Ifeoma looked at the poster and then at her son. She saw the excitement in his eyes, but she also knew their reality. "Nnamdi, you know we cannot afford football shoes or a jersey," she said gently. Nnamdi's heart sank. He looked down at his bare feet and torn clothes. He knew his mother was right, but as he stood there, a determination grew inside of him. He refused to give up. "I will play in my old torn clothes if I have to," Nnamdi thought to himself. He knew this might be his only chance to show his talent. The day of the competition arrived, and the villagers were gathered at the square, buzzing with excitement. Colorful flags fluttered in the wind, and people gathered from all around to watch the matches. Nnamdi showed up in his old clothes and bare feet, his heart pounding with anticipation. He knew this was his chance to show everyone what he's got. As he walked into the field, the other boys started laughing. "You think you can play like that?" one of them sneered, pointing at his ragged clothes and bare feet. Nnamdi felt a sting of embarrassment and pushed it aside. He reminded himself why he was there. He took a deep breath and ignored the laughter. When the whistle blew to start the game, Nnamdi ran onto the field and with determination in his eyes. From the moment he touched the ball, it was clear that Nnamdi was different. He moved quickly and gracefully, his bare feet barely touching the ground. He dodged past defenders with ease and kicked the ball with such power that it seemed to fly through the air. The crowd, initially skeptical, started to murmur in amazement. And as the game went on, more and more people noticed his talent. "Who is that young boy?" they whispered to each other. "He is amazing." Even though Nnamdi's team didn't win, he was the star of the game. His skill and determination shone brighter than the scoreline. When the final whistle blew, the crowd erupted in applause, not for the winning team, but for Nnamdi's game. After the match, as Nnamdi was catching his breath on the sidelines, an older man approached him. He was tall and wore a simple but neat outfit. "Young man, you have talent," he said, looking at Nnamdi with a kind smile. Nnamdi looked up, surprised. "Thank you, sir," he replied, still panting from the game. "My name is Coach Obi," the man continued. "I run a small football club nearby. Would you like to join us?" Nnamdi couldn't believe his ears. His eyes widened in shock and joy. "Yes, sir. Yes, I would really love to," he exclaimed, a huge smile spreading across his face. Coach Obi nodded. "Good. Come to the field tomorrow at 4 p.m. We will start your training." And with that, he patted Nnamdi on the shoulder and walked away. Nnamdi stood there for a moment, letting the reality sink in. He had taken the first step towards his dream. As he walked home that evening, he felt lighter than air, his heart full of hope and excitement. But just before Nnamdi could resume his training with Coach Obi, an unexpected event changed everything. One evening, Nnamdi's father's old friend, Uncle Emeka, returned from the city. He was a tall man with a confident smile and city clothes that looked very expensive in the eyes of the villagers. "Okeke, my brother," Uncle Emeka exclaimed, hugging Nnamdi's father tightly. "It has been so long." And after exchanging pleasantries and sharing a meal, Uncle Emeka turned to Nnamdi. "I have heard about your talent in football, Nnamdi," he said. "I want to take you to the city You can further your education and improve your football skills there. I know a lot of people who can help you. Nnamdi's parents were overjoyed. They saw this as a golden opportunity. This will lessen our burden, Okeke said, looking at his wife, Ifeoma. Nnamdi will have a better life. Nnamdi, however, didn't want to go. Please, Papa, Mama, let me just stay here. I can manage in the village with you people. I want to train with Coach Obi. He begged his parents, his eyes filling with tears. But his parents refused. Nnamdi, this is for your own good, Ifeoma said gently. You will have better opportunities in the city, much more than we can give you here. Look, we can barely feed. You have to go with Uncle Emeka, she said. With a heavy heart, Nnamdi agreed to go. The next day, he packed his few belongings and left for the city with Uncle Emeka. When they arrived in the city, Nnamdi was amazed by the tall buildings, busy streets and bright lights. But his excitement quickly faded. Uncle Emeka did not keep his promises. Instead of helping Nnamdi with his education and football, he turned Nnamdi into a mere servant. Nnamdi, fetch water, Uncle Emeka would order. Nnamdi, clean the house, he demanded. Whenever Nnamdi tried to play football, Uncle Emeka would stop him and beat him seriously. Football is a waste of time, he would shout. Do your chores. Nnamdi's days were filled with endless work and little rest. He was not allowed to go to school, and his dreams of playing football seemed to slip further away. Uncle Emeka did send small amounts of money to Nnamdi's parents, telling them that Nnamdi was doing well and studying very hard. Back in the village, Coach Obi often visited Nnamdi's house to ask about him. How is Nnamdi doing? He would ask. He is fine, Okeke would reply. He is in the city now, getting a good education and training very hard for his football games. Coach Obi felt something was not right, but he trusted what Nnamdi's parents had told him. Meanwhile, Nnamdi continued to suffer in silence. He missed his family, his village, and most of all, he missed playing football. Each night, as he lay on his mat, he whispered to himself, "One day, I will find a way to follow my dreams again." Life in the city was harsh, but Nnamdi's spirit was tested every day. Deep down, he held on to the hope that someday he would be free to play football and make his dreams come true. Nnamdi's days were long and filled with hard work. Every morning, he woke up before dawn to fetch water, sweep the house, and run errands for Uncle Emeka. The man had become more cruel with each passing day, and Nnamdi's dream of playing football seemed like a distant memory. Yet, Nnamdi held on to a small hope inside of his heart. One day, after a particularly harsh beating for trying to kick a ball of rags in the backyard, Nnamdi decided he could not take it anymore. He had made a friend in the neighborhood, a boy named Chimdi, who shared his love for football. Chidi often told Nnamdi about a small field where local boys gathered to play football. That evening, when Uncle Emeka left for a meeting, Nnamdi made his move. He slipped out of the house quietly, heart pounding with fear and excitement. He ran to Chidi's house, where Chidi was waiting for him with a smile. "Come on, Nnamdi," Chidi said, handing him an old pair of football shoes. "Let's go play on the field." Nnamdi's face lit up. It had been so long since he felt the joy of the game. They ran to the small field where other boys were playing. As soon as Nnamdi stepped into the field, he felt a rush of happiness. He forgot all his troubles and focused on the ball. Nnamdi played with all his heart, showing the same skill and determination that had once caught Coach Obi's eyes. He dribbled past defenders, made precise passes, and scored goals with ease. The other boys watched in awe. Unknown to Nnamdi, a man named Mr. Ade, a retired footballer who was now scouting for young talent, was passing by. He stopped to watch the game, captivated by Nnamdi's performance. "Who is that young boy?" Mr. Ade asked Chidi after the game. "That's Nnamdi, sir," Chidi replied. "He is amazing, isn't he?" Mr. Ade nodded, deep in thought. He saw something special in Nnamdi. He decided to approach the boy after the game. As the boys gathered their things to leave, Mr. Ade walked up to Nnamdi. "Young man, you played wonderfully today," he said, smiling. Nnamdi looked up, surprised. "Thank you, sir," he replied, unsure of what to expect. "My name is Mr. Ade. I used to play football professionally, and now I scout for young talent. I believe you have great potential. Would you like to train with me and possibly join a bigger team?" Nnamdi's eyes widened in shock and hope. "Yes, sir, I would love to," he exclaimed, almost unable to believe his luck. Mr. Ade smiled. "Good. Come to this address tomorrow morning," he said, handing Emeka a card. "We will start your training as soon as possible." Nnamdi took the card, his hands trembling with excitement. He thanked Mr. Ade and promised to be there. As he walked back to Chidi's house, he felt like he was walking on air. He knew he would have to face Uncle Emeka's wrath for sneaking out, but for the first time in a long while, he felt a glimmer of hope. When Nnamdi returned to the house, he was met with anger. "Where the hell have you been?" Uncle Emeka shouted, raising his hand to strike Nnamdi. "I'm so sorry, sir. I was playing football," Nnamdi said, bracing himself for the blow. Nnamdi showed him a card, and when Nnamdi showed the card to Emeka, he hoped it would change everything. But instead, Uncle Emeka's face darkened with more anger. He snatched the card from Nnamdi's hand and tore it into pieces and threw them into a bowl of water. Nnamdi's heart shattered along with the torn piece of the card. "You will never leave this house again," Uncle Emeka roared. "Forget about football. Do you understand me? There is no future for you in football." Nnamdi nodded, tears streaming down his face. He cried all night, feeling his dreams slipping away once more. The next day, while Nnamdi was taking out the trash, he saw an opportunity. He glanced around to make sure Uncle Emeka wasn't watching, and then ran as fast as he could to Chidi's house. Panting and out of breath, he told Chidi everything that had happened. "Uncle Emeka tore the card and warned me never to leave the house," Nnamdi said, his voice shaking with emotion. Chidi looked at him with sympathy and determination. "Don't worry, we will find Mr. Ade," he said. "Let us just ask around." Nnamdi and Chidi spent the next few weeks asking everyone they could of Mr. Ade. They asked the boys of the field, shop owners, and people in the neighborhood, but no one knew Mr. Ade's address. It seemed he only revealed himself to the most talented players, and no one they spoke to had any information about him. With no way to find Mr. Ade and no home to return to, Nnamdi and Chidi decided to fend for themselves. They began hawking cold drinks in Lagos, weaving between cars under the scorching sun. It was dangerous and exhausting, but it was the only way they could earn some money. Nnamdi wanted to enroll in school, but he quickly realized he needed a lot of money than he was making. The cost of uniforms, books, and fees was far beyond what he and Chidi could afford. Despite the hardships, Nnamdi held on to his dreams, hoping that one day he would save enough money to go back to school and play football as he wanted. Back in the village, Nnamdi's parents had no idea what he was going on. They believed Uncle Emeka's letters, which said that Nnamdi was doing very well, going to school and training in football. Okeke and Ifeoma were proud of their son, thinking he was on his way to a better life. Each night, Nnamdi and Chidi returned to their small shared room, exhausted but determined. They talked about their dreams and the life they hoped to build. Nnamdi often lay awake, thinking about his parents and wondering how long he could keep living this way. One day we will find Mr. Ade, Chidi would say, trying to keep Nnamdi's spirit up. Or someone else will see your talent and just give us an opportunity. But my friend Nnamdi, you don't have to give up. Nnamdi nodded, appreciating his friend's support. I won't give up, he replied, though doubt sometimes crept into his mind. One day, maybe just one day, we will make it. Despite the long days and the very harsh conditions, Nnamdi held on to his dreams. He knew it would be a tough journey, but he was determined to fight for his future, no matter how difficult the road ahead seemed. One day, Chidi and Nnamdi heard about the interstate football match that was going to take place in Lagos. Players from various teams across the country would be present, and it promised to be a very big event. Although they couldn't play because they had missed too many training sessions, they saw an opportunity to sell their drinks to the large crowd that would gather. We can't miss this chance, Chidi said, excitement in his voice. We will make good money selling drinks at the match. Nnamdi nodded in agreement. And who knows, maybe we might meet Mr. Ade there, he added hopefully. The day of the match arrived, and the stadium was buzzing with energy. Fans cheered loudly as the teams prepared to play. Nnamdi and Chidi moved through the crowd, carrying trays of cold drinks and calling out to potential customers. As Nnamdi was about to sell a drink to a man standing near the sidelines, he stopped in his track. The man turned and Nnamdi's heart skipped a beat. It was Coach Obi, who had come to Lagos with his players for the match. Coach Obi, Nnamdi called out, his voice filled with excitement and disbelief. Coach Obi turned, his eyes widening in surprise. Nnamdi, is that you? He asked, recognizing the boy immediately. Nnamdi nodded, tears welling up in his eyes. He quickly called Chidi over, and the two boys stood before Coach Obi, eager to share their story. I've been through so much, Nnamdi began, his voice trembling. Uncle Emeka brought me to the city, promising to help me with my education and football dreams. But instead, he turned me into a mere servant. I had to run away after he destroyed the card of a man known as Mr. Ade. Chidi and I have been selling drinks to survive. Coach Obi listened intently, his expression serious. I'm so sorry to hear about your hardships, Nnamdi, he said, but I'm glad we found each other. I know Mr. Ade and I can help you reach him. Nnamdi's eyes lit up with hope. Really? Coach, you can help me? He asked, barely able to contain his excitement. Coach Obi nodded firmly. Yes, I can. Mr. Ade and I go way back. He is always looking for talented players, and I'm sure he will remember you. Nnamdi and Chidi exchanged excited glances, unable to believe their luck. Thank you so much, Coach Obi, Chidi said, gratitude evident in his voice. Coach Obi smiled warmly. You two deserve a chance. Come with me after the match. I'll make sure you get in touch with Mr. Ade. The match continued, but Nnamdi and Chidi could hardly focus on their sales. They were filled with renewed sense of hope and excitement. The future that had seemed so bleak now looked promising once again. As the final whistle blew, Nnamdi and Chidi hurried to meet Coach Obi. They knew that their lives were about to change for the better, and they couldn't wait to take the next steps towards their big dreams. With Coach Obi's help, Nnamdi and Chidi finally met Mr. Ade. The experienced scout listened intently to Nnamdi's story, nodding thoughtfully as he heard about the challenges Nnamdi had faced. After a brief conversation, Mr. Ade agreed to give Nnamdi a chance. Under Mr. Ade's guidance, Nnamdi's training intensified. He worked tirelessly, honing the skills and pushing himself to new limits. Coach Obi had to return to Umuahia, and he made sure to visit Nnamdi's parents as soon as he arrived. He explained everything that had happened in Lagos, the hardships Nnamdi endured, and his perseverance, and finally his breakthrough with Mr. Ade. Okeke and Ifeoma listened with heavy hearts but immense gratitude. "Thank you so much, Coach Obi," Okeke said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have done more than we could ever repay. We are sad to be apart from Nnamdi, but we are grateful he is safe and pursuing his dreams," Ifeoma added, wiping away her tears. Coach Obi nodded, placing a reassuring hand on Okeke's shoulder. "Nnamdi is a remarkable young man," he said proudly. "I have no doubt he will make us all proud one day." Months passed in a blur of intense training sessions and competitive matches. Nnamdi's hard work began to pay off as he caught the eyes of scouts and coaches alike. His talent on the field spoke for itself, and soon he received an invitation to play in a major tournament, a chance to showcase his skills on a national stage. During the tournament, Nnamdi played with a fire in his heart. In every game, he gave his all, dazzling spectators with his speed, agility, and precise footwork. After one particularly outstanding performance where he scored a hat-trick, a reporter approached him for an interview. "Nnamdi, how do you feel about your performance today?" the reporter asked. "I feel blessed," Nnamdi replied, with a wide smile. "I have worked hard for this moment, and I want to thank my coach, Coach Obi, Mr. Ade, my friend Chidi, and most importantly, my parents for their constant support." News of Nnamdi's remarkable performance spread like wildfire. Offers began pouring in from big clubs, both within Nigeria and from abroad. After careful consideration and discussions with his mentors, Nnamdi decided to sign with an international club, fulfilling his long-time dream of playing football at the highest level. As he held up his new jersey at the press conference announcing his signing, Nnamdi's thoughts drifted back to his humble beginnings in Umuahia. Nnamdi's success brought more than just personal achievement. It brought hope and opportunity to those around him. Chidi, his loyal friend and fellow dreamer, also caught the eyes of scouts and was signed to a prestigious club as well. The two friends celebrated their successes together, never forgetting the days they hustled in Lagos traffic to make ends meet. Nnamdi made sure to stay true to his roots. He brought his parents from Umuahia to live with him in the city, ensuring they enjoyed a better life than they had ever imagined. Their hearts swelled with pride as they watched their son play on television screens around the world. Back in Umuahia, Nnamdi sponsored local talents, providing football kits, training facilities, and educational support to aspiring young players. He visited his old village often, where he was welcomed as a hero. The children looked up to him with awe, inspired by his journey from poverty to international stardom. No longer referred to as the local champion, Nnamdi's name became synonymous with success and perseverance. He remained grateful to everyone who had supported him along the way. Coach Obi, whose belief in him never wavered, and Mr. Ade, whose timely intervention changed his life forever. "I owe everything to my supporters," Nnamdi would often say in interviews. "They believed in me while others didn't, and I'm here today because of them." As Nnamdi stood in the pitch of a grand stadium, surrounded by cheering fans and teammates, he knew that his journey was not just about football. It was about resilience, determination, and the power of dreams. He had come a very long way from kicking rags in the dusty fields of Umuahia, but he had never forgotten where he came from. Nnamdi embraced his role as a role model and inspiration to generations of young footballers. His story was a testament to the belief that with hard work, perseverance, and the support of others, anything was possible. For Nnamdi, the journey had been tough, but every hurdle had been worth it to stand where he stood today, a true champion in every sense of the word. The moral lesson of Nnamdi's story is that with perseverance, belief in oneself, and the support of mentors and loved ones, one can overcome even the most challenging circumstances to achieve their dreams. Nnamdi's journey from poverty in a rural village to international football success demonstrates the importance of resilience, hard work, and staying true while reaching for greater heights. His story inspires others to never give up on their aspiration, no matter how daunting the obstacles may seem. Thanks for watching this captivating story on African stories and folktales. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories. Thank you.